Hey there, so right now I've got bubbles coming up from my main drain. I am blowing it out with just a standard air compressor. This is something that I've wanted to do for quite a while now during the winterization process. Never actually been able to get it to blow through, but it is actually really simple, and I'm going to show you how I do it here. As far as supplies for blowing out my main drain, I'm using just a standard 6-gallon air compressor. Now this is probably the biggest component for me. It is a blow-through plug. It's got a Schrader valve here. Goes all the way through to the inside, so we get a nice seal on our plumbing, allowing air to go into the line. And these blow-through plugs, they come in all sorts of different sizes. This is 1.5 inches because that is the size of port that I'm going to be plugging. Otherwise, there's also 2-inch varieties, which are common plumbing sizes for pools. And this was about 10 bucks, I think, on Amazon. I'll provide a link in the description below. On our compressor, I've got just a standard digital air inflator with a lock-on valve that will fit onto our Schrader. And then I've got another set of hands here to hold on to my air inflator so that I can actually watch the bubbles without having to sit here holding that. So this here is my main drain line, this is my skimmer line, and then pump. And so a couple different ways to get access to hook up our compressor to this line. Use the pump housing, there's a port here, or what I'll be doing is using my couplers as an access point. So I've now have an opening here, and then this is a key, our blow through plug. Can go ahead, insert that in there. So we want to have a nice tight fit, get it nice and snug. And so with this Schrader valve, I'm just gonna go ahead and hook up with my lock-on valve. And then I want to make sure that I've got a good tight fit. And now I'm opening up my 3-way valve so that my main drain is open, so that this air that I'm pushing in there is going to go through the main drain line. And then what I like to do is I will use my clamp here for my particular inflator. Have to squeeze the handle. The clamp can do that for me for a prolonged period of time so we can do a good blowout. At this point, my compressor is set at around 40 pounds, but I'm really only pushing around 10.5 pounds of air through the drain. And this is where we can notice the difference between using a small compressor like I have versus a larger professional compressor. My compressor is putting out 2.6 cubic feet per minute, so it does take a little bit of time to start seeing those bubbles form, whereas a commercial compressor would probably be pretty instantaneous. But overall, really not a big deal for me. It takes about 40 seconds to start seeing those bubbles rise up from the drain. And they start off pretty slow as that water continues to be pushed out through the drain. But as more and more air is making its way through, we see these bubbles become pretty vigorous. At this point, I pretty much let it blow out for 5 minutes just to ensure I've displaced as much water as possible. And without deep diving into calculations, my drain line is about 50 feet long and 1.5 inches in diameter. This means it only holds around half a cubic foot of water when completely full. And my compressor is putting out 2.5 cubic feet of air per minute. So during my 5-minute blowout, I'm actually pushing 12 to 13 cubic feet of air through the drain line, which means I could displace the line full of water over 20 times during this 5-minute period. And so after the blowout's done, the process isn't complete because we have to trap the air inside the line. And so I simply just move our 3-way valve so that it is closed to the drain side. Then I go ahead and disengage our tire inflator so I'm no longer pressurizing our blow-through port. And now I can disconnect the hose and remove the plug. And this is because our valve is providing that airlock to keep the air trapped inside our drain line. And just a quick pause. In a prior video, I showed how to winterize our pool lines with a leaf blower and antifreeze, including the main drain. This method has worked great as my drain has survived over a dozen winters. But that said, my leaf blower can't provide enough pressure to blow bubbles through the drain. And honestly, it's hard to say how much risk there is by not blowing through the drain. This often is well below the freezing line in the northern climates. But I'll link the video in the description below if interested in seeing the process of using a leaf blower. And that's really the process in blowing out the main drain line with just a basic air compressor. Again, this is the first year I've done it. I had always thought it required professional equipment to do so, but really with that blow through port, super easy. Hopefully you found this video useful. If so, I'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button to see more tips and tricks around the pool and around the house. I'll see you next time.